This is the plaintiff, Sherry Pitchford. She says the defendant is her middle daughter, and the selfish woman refuses to pay her back for a cell phone. Daughter or no daughter, she needs to be taught a lesson on how to pay back a loan. And if court is the only way to teach her that, then so be it. She's suing for $389.88, the amount of the loan. This is the defendant, Leslie Zimmerman. She says the phone was a guilt gift from her mother for all the terrible things she's done to her in her life. She doesn't owe her mother a thing. The woman's just mad she cut her out of her and her son's life, and she's not paying her a cent. She's accused of making Mom mad.
All parties, please raise your right hand. People's Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Marilyn Milian is presiding. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Pitchford, you are suing your daughter, Ms. Zimmerman, for $389 that you say she owes you on a telephone that she promised to repay. Talk to me. Tell me what happened.
Okay, on February 7th of 2021, Leslie and at the time her boyfriend Daniel was at our house having dinner, and she was complaining that she didn't have a phone and her phone wasn't any good and it was useless at the time. So I talked with my husband Russ, and we were sitting there and said, well, she's got to have a phone. The situation is with her being epileptic and her son being behaviorally challenged, we knew the phone was crucial for her. So I asked him, and we both sat and just agreed that, yes, we'll go ahead and put her on our plan, our phone plan, provided that she pays for the phone.
Okay, what phone did she get?
I believe it's like a Samsung 20 or 21, something like that.
And it cost how much?
Like the total cost was $1,196.84.
Okay, who's your carrier?
Verizon.
How much was Verizon charging a month for the phone? Because I presume
Just for the phone, but not for the plan.
Not for the plan or the usage, just for the phone.
Just for the phone. The total was $32.50 every month.
Okay, and you had told her to pay
$30 a month.
And she didn't have to pay for the usage? You were paying for that?
We were paying for the usage.
Okay, and was any of this in writing, or no, it's my daughter?
It was verbal, and
Okay.
I didn't think about putting it in writing, but because it was my daughter, you know, it is my
No,
daughter.
I know. People say that all the time, and I always say to them, who is it you really don't want to have the problem with?
Right.
It's your loved ones. That's who you
Right.
don't want a misunderstanding with.
Right.
So if it feels creepy to write a promissory note, then send each other an email so there's utterly no confusion on who's paying for what until
Right.
when.
Right.
Because that's the one person you don't want to alienate is your loved one, right? But anyway, so what happens?
Well, at first, things were going okay. You know, we on February 9th, we went and got her a phone at the Verizon store, and she agreed. We even stood there, her and her boyfriend at the time, and all three. You can handle $30 a month to pay back the phone. Yep, not a problem. I looked at Dan and her boyfriend at the time, Dan, and he was kind of helping her with bills and whatever, I don't know. But he says, yeah, she should be able to handle that, no problem.
Okay. So then what happens? Because I find myself here listening to this. So what happens? Does she handle it with no problem until one day she doesn't?
She was handling it, but it's like some months she was paying and other months she was double paying because she wasn't paying the month previous.
Okay.
And then...
But it's not a big deal until it's a big deal. What happened
Right.
to make it a big deal?
Okay, in August, late August, she still hadn't paid anything for August yet. So I was rather confused, but then when there was like a county fair going on and some other stuff, apparently she had gone to the fair and taken her son, and her son was misbehaving, and she called me in a frantic rage. You need to come get him. I can't take this anymore. I can't do this anymore. You need to come and get him now.
What's his issue?
He's got behavioral issues.
What does that mean, behavioral issues?
My son is autistic, has
Okay.
ADHD,
Okay.
and him and I both have PTSD from previous physical trauma.
Okay, how old is your son?
He's 12 now, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, so she calls you, and according to you, she calls you and she says you need to take it. Do you have other children or no?
No, Your Honor,
Okay,
he's just
so
my only one.
and you say,
I told her, I said, well, what's going on? She goes, well, I just called you and I realized that you can't help me anyways, and then hung up. And I was like, that's kind of odd. I mean, I didn't know what was going on, so I called her back and I said, look, what's going on? I just need you to come and get him. He's misbehaving. He's trying to crawl out of the car. While I'm trying to move the car, and he's trying to hit me and everything else. I said, look, then call the cops. They're going to get to you a lot faster than I will. And next thing I know, she hung up on me.
okay.
So I was like, you know what? Is this really worth this? All of this,
Is what really worth
like
it?
all the stress of getting called for the son that I thought she was doing a decent job with and not having any problems. But now all of a sudden I'm getting phone call after phone call after phone call. You got to come get him. You got to take him. It's I need your help. I need you to take him. I figured she's an adult. She had the child. She ought to be able to adult and take care of him. So my husband then, he was sitting right beside me at the time, and he looks at me and goes, did she pay for the phone this month? I said, no. And he says, maybe we ought to think about pursuing this a little further.
Okay. You tell her you've got to pay the whole phone up front because you missed this payment. But that actually happened after she posted something on social media. What did she post on social media that made you upset?
She apparently posted a false allegation that I called and talked to her after the phone was already turned off. And I supposedly accused her of, I supposedly said, that because she's tried to commit suicide in the past, next time maybe she ought to do a better job.
Wait, so she put on social media that you had said that to her?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have that? Because I didn't read that in the evidence.
It's not. I couldn't find it in the
Okay.
text, in the
All right.
postings.
Okay.
But I know that people said that that's what they've read. I mean,
Other people.
yeah.
Okay. But you never read it.
No, because she blocked me before I could.
Okay. How do you communicate with her and tell her I'm canceling the phone, I'm shutting off the phone or whatever?
On the following Monday, I had called Verizon and said, could you shut down the phone?
Okay, it's temporarily, right?
Temporarily.
Right. All right. And then what happens?
They said, well, we can shut it down, but in 2-3 months, it's going to get turned back on irregardless because you haven't paid off the phone. Okay, how much is owed yet on the phone? And that's when they said $389.88 has to be paid before the phone could be completely shut down. And that's when she contacted me the day after that, was on a Tuesday.
So you contact your mom and you tell her, please, I need a phone. I need to be able to talk to my son at lunchtime. That's what calms him down for the afternoon. How are you communicating with your mom?
We were communicating through Facebook Messenger, Your Honor, and text messages, which I do have available.
Okay, and so what were you saying to her and what was her response?
I asked can I please have the phone? I said, I get paid tomorrow, please. Will you just give me the info so I can leave you alone?
But why would you need the info? What happened what happened? What really happened? What is this really about? Because I don't think it's about the $389 for the Verizon phone. I think it's about something else. So what was it that you posted about your mother that made her,
I posted on my private profile on Facebook. I was venting to my friends and family that I connect with online there. I'm sorry, Your Honor. I posted on there that I decided to cut my mom off from myself and my son because of just a lot of toxic issues that's happened in the past.
Like what?
My mother placed me in a psychiatric center when I was 11 years old. I've been cut off from friends and family before from her. I'm just now repairing the relationship I had with my father, because since we were children, she's alienated me and my sisters from my father, and lots of lies, gaslighting behaviors. As a behavioral therapist for kids with autism and seeing the things that they go through, and now as an adult with autism.
Do you have autism?
I do, Your Honor.
When you say she placed you in a psychiatric ward for how long?
I'm not sure about how I know it was past, it was a month at least. I'm not sure how long. I have epilepsy. My memory is very hazy unless I write things down. I base a lot of my memory off of friends and family and what I've written down in personal journals over the years.
Okay. Have you had a difficult relationship with your mother all of your life?
Yes, Your Honor. Grew up autistic, didn't know I was autistic, so if I misbehaved, it was a lot of deal with it, and I'm the difficult child. My older sister is praised a lot. My younger sister has physical disabilities as well. So I'm the middle child, and it was a lot of high tension growing up. I moved out when I just turned 18, and I've tried the best I could for my son. I had my son when I was 17.
You had your son when you were 17?
I got pregnant with my son when I was 17. I had him when I was just barely 18, Your Honor. There wasn't a choice in the matter. I had to.
What do you mean by that?
There was no talk about adoption, abortion. It was, you're having this child, you're sticking with this man.
Is this the man she was referring to earlier?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
It was an adult.
When you say it was an adult, what do you mean?
He was in his 20s.
And you were 17?
Yes,
When you
Your
say
Honor.
in his 20s, what do you mean?
He was 22, 23.
Okay.
And my mother was aware of it, so it was just, you have to deal with this, you have to keep going. And I won't lie, there was a little bit resentment growing up, but I thought as being adults now, our relationship would be okay.
Tell me about the phone and how the phone came about.
The phone came about, my mother purchased the phone at the end of February in 2021. It was apology for lying. My sister called child services on me I posted online, finally I was proud of the fact that I am openly gay. And my family, I don't know if they just disapproved or what it was, my sister called child services on me for false claims. I asked my mother if she had...
The
false claim, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, yeah. What was the false claim?
The false claim was sexual abuse and neglect for my son.
Claiming that somebody was sexually abusing your son?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and how do you know it was your sister who did that?
The claims were very specific, involving my nephew and things that only my mother and my sister would hear, because I trusted my mother to watch my son sometimes on the weekends when I would work. I worked 3 jobs, Your Honor.
Okay. So what happened with those allegations?
Nothing came of them, Your Honor. They were unsubstantiated. Child services came out.
Why would your mother then buy you a guilt gift of a phone?
She broke down crying and said, "You're right, I'm sorry. I came between you and your sister. I'm sorry, let me give you this phone. I know your phone isn't the best," which my phone was working. It wasn't the best, but it was
So
just
what was
fine.
the $30 that you were paying a month?
To keep the phone, I was under my knowledge that it was to keep the phone on her service plan, the $30.
Do you have a bill for your phone? Yeah, let's see that.
The circled amount is the total amount of the phone. And if you look there, it should say February 9th is when it was purchased.
No, I wanted an actual phone bill.
Oh, I don't get an actual phone bill.
Do you
Everything's on.
where do you get it? Do you get it by email
I
or
get it
something?
I get
Yeah,
it
look
through-
it up there a second. I want to see the phone bill.
I have printed out the Venmo receipts for every.
Right, I understand. So I guess what you're saying is my $30 is for usage, not for phone. She's saying your $30 is for phone, not for usage. So I'm interested in seeing what usage costs. versus phone, because I know that on my accounts it's sounding like phone. You know, whenever I purchase a phone for one of my posse, there's that, you know, interest-free $30 a month or $25 a month, whatever it is, charge instead of paying whack. You know,
And if it was more than $30, I verbalized I was available to pay that more
that's
than
the least of
30.
it. I need to figure out if you owe the $389 or not, because she turned it off. That's where this comes in. And I know that none of this is about the $389.
Not at all.
So you vented to your friends and family, and it got to your mother, right? How old are you?
I'm 31, Your Honor.
Yeah. You vented to your friends and family. Did you know that it would get to your mother because of the certain friends and family who you were venting to?
No, Your Honor, but after literally posting it and within minutes being able to see who viewed it, I was very able to quickly determine who sent the information to my
was
mother.
it, do you think?
It was one of her karate teachers or students.
Yeah, a friend of hers that's on your
yes.
private list. I mean,
Yes. So that was very easy to delete.
well, of course it's easy. I mean, and how many people are on your, quote, private list?
On my private list, there's only 200.
Only 200. That was her response. You heard it, right? Only 200.
Only 200.
You are part of that generation that grew up with a social media support system. I have a 26-year-old daughter. She also grew up that way. And it's odd to the rest of us,
Absolutely.
right? Because the rest of us who didn't grow up getting our affirmation through social media, it's as though you went to the highest mountaintop and yelled it in a crowd because there's 200 people in that list. In your mind, it's your support system, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
You were feeling like garbage. You wrote out whatever you wrote out. And then people responded at giving you like positive affirmation about, you know, you're doing the right thing, cut out the negativity in your life, and you're doing a great job with your kid. You know, the comments are what you live for when you're distressed. It's like having a positive intervention where everybody's hugging. They're giving you virtual hugs. And
Sometimes it's needed.
I know. I'm glad I don't have anything to do with that, but I totally understand it. She does not understand it, though. In her mind, what this is you shouting it from a mountaintop to people who she works with and knows, and saying, you know, she's never there for me or whatever it is that you said. According to her, you said many more vicious things that she didn't see with her own eyes, but people told her. What kinds of things had you posted about her that could lead to this breakup in this mother-daughter relationship?
The only thing that was posted on that status that I think that she is embarrassed about is the voicemail that was left on my phone at one point that her just kind of ranting, like, if you don't want a kid, you can take him to the police, you can take him to foster care, don't call me unless you need to take him to foster care. And the voicemail said that, you know, as many times as you try to kill yourself, if you're going to try to kill yourself, do it the right way.
You have an actual voicemail where she's saying all this?
I did, Your Honor.
Is that still available?
I have since deleted it. My therapist, I'm in PTSD therapy. My therapist said it is not good to keep this.
Do you happen to have, what are you showing me now?
These are text messages, Your Honor.
Let me see those.
Yeah, I have the same ones.
All right, sometime, I guess there's phone calls because then September 7th, I won't bother you anymore for help, whatever.
That was the incident. That was the day of the fair incident,
Real
Your Honor.
mature, ditto. And she responds, well, I'm not the one that blamed her mother for getting pregnant and having a child. If you didn't want, then you should have thought about that before you allowed a pedophile to get you pregnant. You know damn well I have helped you nearly every time you've asked for it. You respond to her, when you force a teenager to carry a pregnancy, refusing abortion or adoption talks, and promise her that you're going to help raise a child, but you break that promise, then yeah, you're going to get blamed. Whether you like to admit it or not, you set me up for failure in this life. I'm sorry I wasn't the perfect daughter that you wanted. And you tell your daughter not to contact you unless she's paying you for the phone, or if she has to send to foster care. When you contact, what are you so mad about? Like, because there's a dynamic in a mother-daughter relationship. I don't care if she's 31. I know the dynamic because I have 3 daughters.
Right.
And the dynamic is you're always a parent and they're always a child.
Right.
Even when they're 60, they're
Right.
still a child.
I agree.
I know that sometimes we get frustrated with them and that we feel like we're, not being given a fair shake, but you still always have to be the adult and the parent. And a lot of your talk here doesn't sound very adultish. So what happened to cause this?
It was kind of a bantering. I mean, she would take pot shots at me, and so I felt like I had to take pot shots back, and I shouldn't have. And I know that now. To be honest, Your Honor, I'm sorry to interrupt, but for years, it's been, ever since she was 2, I've always had to focus more on her than the other two daughters.
I know, and she feels really guilty about that because apparently you've let her know it. In other words, she feels like she failed you as a daughter, right? So she, yes, you feel like she was a handful, and apparently that's been made very clear to her because she says, I'm not the perfect daughter, I'm the handful. The thing is that both of you get hurt by the other, and you feel it. Like I see litigants in front of me where they really don't care what the other one thinks. And that's not what I have here. Because as hurt as you are and as hurt as she is, and as much as you're finger pointing, I do think that there is love and pain there. But, you've got to understand that's your child and your burden, and you've got to understand, oh my God, are we still talking about why the baby was even born? The child's 12. Don't let him see this. Okay? The child's 12 now. I mean, we're past that. And you can't blame having him on her, and you can't blame her for asking for help, because that's really what they do all the time, right?
Yeah.
Daughters ask for help for the rest of your life. They're going to ask that. That's and then they're like appalled if you don't give it, but you shouldn't be appalled if she does. I am not a therapist. I'm just a judge. Okay? But these are the things that the two of you can work out with a competent professional who, if you care, and if you can get over the hurt that you felt with her bashing you, because you've got to understand they're just different than we are.
I know.
They really are. They post, that's their support group. They get this stuff. That's just how it's been. It's not their fault. You had her the year you had her. Right? And then she didn't ask to be born into this technology. This is how it works.
Right.
In their heads, they don't realize how they're bashing you. And you need to be a little more sensitive about that. When you need that support group, just talk to the 10 or 15 that you want to talk to, not 200, because that's not really support group. That's an announcement.
It's not the first time I've been bashed by her either, so
I know.
I'm just putting it out there.
I understand. And at the end of the day, as unfair as it sounds, we're the adults, right?
Yeah, I get it.
And you stood on, on $300 and turned off the phone of someone who needs a phone, who's an epileptic. You gave all those reasons why she has to have a phone. You turned off her phone and then got nasty about it because your feelings were hurt, which is a very impetuous thing to do as the adult parent. But I know you were hurt, but we're supposed to act, not act. Look, Leslie, you're wrong. That's not for usage. That's for the payment of the phone. I'm looking at the phone bills, and I know it's for the payment of the actual phone, the monthly charges for the payment of the actual phone. Okay. So you have the phone, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah, I'm going to order you to pay the $389.88 that is left. That phone is yours. The financial ties between you should end. That resolves the case in front of us. Okay, it doesn't resolve, the real issue, which is something the two of you have to think about. Absolutely. And that is whether or not you want your child to have a relationship with her outside of taking care of him, a real relationship with the grandmother, and whether you want to have a relationship with your daughter and your grandson.
I do.
And if you do, then don't say anything in the hallway that's going to damage that, because that's been my experience.
Right.
Yes. Everyone is super contrite and cheery in here. Then they walk into the hallway and they say some horrible stuff. So think before you post, and think before you text, and think before you speak out in that hallway, right? Because there are bigger things than this case. Absolutely. And hopefully the two of you will find it in your souls to try to tap into that, and I'm rooting for you. Verdict for the plaintiff, $389.88.
So the plaintiff, the mother in this case, does indeed get the $389 she was seeking from her daughter. Her daughter, Ms. Zimmerman's on her way out of the courtroom. Let's see what she has to say. Leslie, tell me, what's your reaction to what just happened in the courtroom this morning?
I'm a little sad. It was high energy and a lot of emotions, but I agree with the judge's decision.
What do you think this court case and you being here in court against your mother is going to do for that relationship?
Probably not anything good, but it was a very therapeutic experience, and I'm ready to move on with the next chapter for mine and my son's life.
All right. Well, listen, good luck to you. Sorry it's such a sad situation.
Yep, and that's okay. Tomorrow's a new day.
Good luck to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So let's see what Ms. Pitchford, the plaintiff, the mother in this case, has to say. The judge gave both parties quite a lecture. Ms. Pitchford, what do you think about the judge had to say to you today in court?
Well, there's a lot of animosity between me and Leslie, but I'm taking the judge's words to heart, and I would love to be able to rebuild a relationship with her and my grandson, but she doesn't take my phone calls or my texts or anything anymore. So I guess, the ball's going to have to be in her court.
Well, it's such a sad situation. I'm sorry it turned out this way, but all I can say is good luck to you both. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, Doug, look, the burden of proof is on the person who claims it's a gift. You have to prove based on evidence that it is not something that you had to pay for. The presumption is that if somebody will give you something, you're supposed to pay for it. You have to prove it was a gift.
So, Marilyn, who's more of a baby when they're sick?
You.
Me?
Yeah, you.
You gotta
don't
be
get
kidding
sick
me.
very often, but when you're sick, you curl up in a ball like you're about to die.
I am totally I'm tougher than a $2 steak.
You
You're gonna
say
tell me
that. You say that a lot,
come on.
but you.
Look, when we went to the emergency room a couple years ago, I waved off the Novocaine when they were
Well, you're
putting
just
staples
okay.
in my head. I
No,
said,
that
just
is
put
true.
them in, doc.
You have a very, what do they call it, a high pain threshold
I guess
when you
so,
can stand
yeah.
a lot? Yeah, you always skip the note. Just staple my head right there.
Right.
But then you're a baby at home who needs to be taken care of.
Maybe only around you.
Maybe.
Because I know you will take care of
Right.
it.
I don't think I'm a baby.
No, I wouldn't say you are.
I think you got a little annoyed at all the everything you had to fetch for me while the foot was broken.
I'm still annoyed. That's still going on. The annoyance isn't over yet.
If I got to walk all the way upstairs to get something, like, John, will you go
Right.
upstairs and get me? And you're like, ugh.
Why can't you just crawl up the stairs on your butt?